A 72-year-old man, healthy, independent, and full of life, was found unconscious in his bathroom. No sign of trauma, no warning from his body, just one private moment. At the wrong time of day. That moment cost him everything. I'm Dr. James, a men's health specialist with over 30 years of clinical experience helping older men protect their vitality, circulation, and confidence without pills, shame, or guesswork. I've seen firsthand what no one talks about, how small, everyday habits can turn deadly after 60. You've likely heard that self-pleasure is harmless, or even healthy. And for younger men, that may be true. But what if I told you there are specific times of day when this common habit becomes one of the most dangerous things a senior man can do for his heart, his brain, and his balance? Most men never get warned. In this video, you'll discover the 7 most dangerous times of day to masturbate after 60, based on real physiological risks tied to your blood pressure, hormone cycles, hydration, and heart rhythm. You'll also learn why ignoring this advice can lead to dizziness, blood vessel strain, and even fatal falls. But most importantly, you'll gain clarity and control, knowing exactly how to protect your strength, your independence, and your intimacy in a way that honors your age, not fights it. And in just a few moments, I'll reveal the absolute worst time of day to masturbate after 70. The time when your risk of vascular collapse quietly spikes, and when even one misstep could take you from pleasure to tragedy. Before we dive into the 7 critical times, I need to share something personal, because I've seen too many good men suffer needlessly. If you get this wrong, the consequences can be devastating, and the price may be more than you ever expected to pay. Let me be absolutely clear. This isn't just a warning, it's a line in the sand. Because if you continue to masturbate at the wrong time of day after 60, you may not get a second chance to correct it. You could pass out, alone, in your bathroom, hitting your head on cold tile with no one there to help. You could suffer a silent heart arrhythmia, the kind that kills without warning and leaves your family wondering what happened. Or maybe the damage won't be immediate, but it will be irreversible, weakening your blood vessels little by little, stealing your coordination, leaving you too dizzy to climb stairs or stand up from your favorite chair without gripping the edge in fear. I've seen it all. Men who lost their ability to walk unaided because of one misjudged moment. Men who slipped, fell, and never stood again. Men who thought they were fine until the night they didn't wake up. And here's the part no one tells you. These aren't rare cases. These are common stories. The only thing rare is the honesty about it. Most men are too embarrassed to admit what really happened. Doctors don't ask, families don't know, and so the cycle continues, silently claiming the strength, the independence, and in some cases, the very life of the man who thought he was still invincible. But you are not invincible. Not anymore. Your body after 60 does not recover like it once did. A moment of stimulation at the wrong time can overload your nervous system, trigger a blood pressure collapse, disrupt your heart rhythm, or cause a loss of consciousness in under 10 seconds. And if you're standing, if you're dehydrated, or if you're alone, that single moment could be fatal. This is the price. Not just embarrassment, not just fatigue, but your freedom, your balance, your mind, or your life. And that's why this conversation matters now. Not tomorrow, not when something goes wrong. Right now, while you still have the chance to protect yourself. Because the truth is, there are 7 key danger zones in your daily routine. 7 windows of time when your body is at its weakest, most unstable, and most vulnerable to stimulation. You won't see them coming. You won't feel the risk until it's too late. But if you know them, you can avoid them. You can stay safe, strong, in control. So now I'm going to show you what these 7 times are, starting with the most overlooked and most dangerous of all. Stay with me. What you learn in the next few minutes could very well save your life. 1. Right after waking up, when blood pressure surges unexpectedly. Most men don't give it a second thought. You wake up in the morning, maybe with a little arousal, a little tension, and you figure, why not take care of it right then and there? It feels natural, private, even helpful. But I need you to understand what's really happening inside your body during those first minutes after you open your eyes, because this is one of the most deceptive and dangerous times of day for any man over 60 to engage in self-pleasure. The moment you wake up, your body begins a sharp transition. Your blood pressure rises rapidly to prepare you for the day. Your heart rate increases. Your adrenal glands release a surge of cortisol and adrenaline, stress hormones meant to jolt your system awake. And this isn't a gentle process, especially not for an older body. For someone in their 20s or 30s, the cardiovascular system can handle this transition, but for men over 60, it can be like starting a car engine that hasn't been properly warmed up in months. Now, when you add sexual arousal and climax on top of this hormonal storm, you're creating a perfect storm inside your body. Masturbation requires blood to flow rapidly to the genitals, pulling circulation away from other vital organs. Orgasm causes a sudden increase and then a sharp drop in blood pressure. Your heart races, your breathing shifts, and your nervous system gets overstimulated. In younger men, that stress is tolerable. But in older adults, especially those with any level of heart disease, high blood pressure, or even mild circulatory weakness, this can lead to dangerous outcomes: fainting, vision loss, lightheadedness, or even a sudden cardiac event. I had a patient, 74 years old, fairly active, thought he was healthy, who passed out just minutes after finishing his morning routine. When we reviewed what had happened, it became clear. He had masturbated the moment he woke up. His blood pressure had spiked, and the physical exertion pushed his heart past its safe threshold. He hit his head on the bathroom counter. He lived, thank God, but it changed everything. He now walks with assistance. His independence is gone. And he told me with tears in his eyes, if someone had just told me it was risky, I never would have done it. That's why I'm telling you now. What seems like a harmless act of relief can become a moment that alters the course of your life. Your body needs time to wake up slowly. It needs hydration, movement, oxygen, not overstimulation. And certainly not at a time when your blood vessels are tightening and your heart is already working harder than it should. So before you give in to that early morning urge, ask yourself, is the pleasure worth the potential price? Your body is wiser now, but also more vulnerable. It's not about shame, it's about survival. Now, if you think that was dangerous, wait until you hear what happens during a different time of day, one that almost every senior falls victim to without even realizing it. Let's talk about the hidden risks of afternoon fatigue. 2. During afternoon fatigue, when your energy is lowest. There's a quiet danger hidden in the middle of your day. It doesn't scream or shout. It slips in unnoticed, disguised as tiredness, as a need to relax, to lie down, to disconnect. For many seniors, that's the time when the body naturally starts to slow down, usually between 2 and 4 p.m. It's during this lull that you might feel the urge for a little release, a little escape. You might think, I'm home, I'm alone, I deserve this moment. And you're not wrong to want peace or comfort. But I've seen this time window become the turning point in more lives than I can count. Here's the truth most men don't know. Your body in the afternoon is at one of its most vulnerable points. Blood pressure tends to dip. Circulation slows. Your nervous system is in a mild slump, which is why so many people feel drowsy or unmotivated during these hours. The heart beats softer, the brain relaxes its alertness, and your muscles, especially in older bodies, become more prone to stiffness, imbalance, and poor response times. When you introduce sexual stimulation during this phase, you force the body into an abrupt shift, from low energy to high demand. That sudden jolt can strain the cardiovascular system. For older men, it's not just about fatigue after climax. It's about the way blood pressure drops unpredictably, how arousal pulls energy reserves your body doesn't have, and how it leaves you vulnerable to disorientation, shallow breathing, and even blackouts. I once had a man in his early 70s tell me he fell asleep in a recliner after pleasuring himself mid-afternoon and woke up 3 hours later unable to move his neck. He thought it was just stiffness. 2 days later, he was in the ER being treated for a minor stroke. The risk is real. Afternoon masturbation can trigger what doctors call postural hypotension, a rapid drop in blood pressure when you shift positions. For men who masturbate seated and then stand too quickly afterward, this can mean collapsing on the spot, hitting furniture, or suffering a head injury. Even if no fall occurs, many seniors report extreme sleepiness, weakness in their legs, and a foggy mental state that lasts hours. These are not just coincidences. They're symptoms of a system under too much stress. You've made it this far in life by listening to your body. Now more than ever, it's critical to keep doing that. Afternoon fatigue isn't the time to push through. It's the time to rest, hydrate, stretch, or even take a short nap. If intimacy is something you desire, plan it during hours when your body is stronger, more alert, and better prepared to respond safely. Because as harmful as afternoon fatigue can be, there's another moment, one we rarely think of as risky, that carries a completely different danger. It's a time when your body is already under pressure from the inside, and you may be sabotaging your health without even knowing it. Let's take a closer look at what happens when you choose the wrong moment, right after a big meal. 3. Immediately after a big meal, when digestion takes priority. It might surprise you to hear this, but some of the most dangerous moments for older men aren't when they're doing something extreme, but when they're doing something completely ordinary, like enjoying a hearty lunch or dinner. You finish your meal, push your plate aside, and maybe you feel that familiar wave of satisfaction, that need to sit back, relax, and let your body settle. For some men, especially those living alone or with flexible routines, that moment becomes an opportunity for a little self-pleasure. A reward, perhaps. A break from the noise. A way to ease into the afternoon or evening. But what you don't see is the hidden war happening inside your body the moment you finish eating. Right after a large meal, your body shifts almost all of its focus to digestion. Your heart pumps more blood toward your stomach and intestines. Your blood vessels widen in some areas and tighten in others. Your energy is redirected to your core. This is what keeps digestion smooth, but it also means that the rest of your system is operating on minimal support. When you masturbate during this window, you're pulling blood in another direction, toward your pelvic region, toward the sexual organs, and that creates a conflict inside your own body. It's like asking your heart to be in two places at once, and for men over 60, that's a demand your cardiovascular system may not be able to meet. I once worked with a 69-year-old man who admitted that he often felt lightheaded after pleasuring himself shortly after meals. At first, he brushed it off as part of aging, but when he fainted in the kitchen after dinner one evening, it became clear that the issue was far more serious. The post-meal blood diversion, combined with the exertion of orgasm, had caused a drop in blood pressure so fast that he collapsed before he could catch himself. The fall fractured his pelvis. He spent 8 weeks in rehabilitation and told me afterward, if I'd known it was dangerous, I never would have risked it for something so small. The truth is, even if the damage isn't instant, it adds up. Repeatedly masturbating right after meals can strain your digestive process, cause nausea or cramping, trigger headaches from poor oxygenation, or bring on sudden fatigue. And for those managing diabetes or blood sugar fluctuations, climax during this digestive state can spike insulin resistance or lead to unexpected crashes. This isn't about taking away your freedom, it's about helping you make smarter choices with your body's rhythm in mind. Your body isn't broken, it's just different now, and it needs you to cooperate with its needs, not compete with them. But if you think the digestive system is tricky, wait until we look at something even more subtle and far more dangerous. It's something you don't feel coming until it's too late, and it's probably happening to you more often than you realize. Let's talk about what happens when you're dehydrated. 4. While dehydrated, a hidden risk that strikes fast. Most men don't think twice about hydration. You feel fine, you haven't been sweating, and maybe you had a cup of coffee or two. So what's the harm? But what you may not realize is that as we age, our ability to sense thirst declines, and by the time you feel dehydrated, your body is already operating in deficit. That's when silent damage begins to creep in, and when something as private and personal as masturbation can quietly become a serious risk. Your blood needs water to flow efficiently. Your muscles need hydration to move without cramping. Your heart needs fluid in the bloodstream to pump properly and avoid strain. When you're even mildly dehydrated, your blood becomes thicker, your vessels constrict, and your cardiovascular system has to work harder just to keep you upright. Add sexual arousal into that picture, an act that increases your heart rate, draws blood to your pelvic region, and causes a sudden release of tension, and now you've placed enormous strain on a system that's already under pressure. I remember one gentleman in his late 60s who told me that he began experiencing leg cramps and heart palpitations right after climaxing. It didn't make sense to him until we looked at his routine. No water throughout the day, several cups of coffee. Then in the early afternoon, he'd feel the urge and act on it. His muscles were screaming for hydration, his blood pressure was unstable, and his body, instead of relaxing after orgasm, would rebel with sharp cramping and a pounding heart. He thought it was anxiety, but in truth it was his body waving a red flag. Dehydration affects more than just comfort. It disrupts circulation, lowers energy, and increases the risk of urinary tract infections. For men dealing with prostate issues, this is especially dangerous. After climax, if the bladder and urethra don't flush properly due to lack of fluid, bacteria can linger and multiply. Infections become more frequent. The sensation of relief becomes paired with burning, discomfort, or the need to urinate more often, sometimes within hours. You may also experience post-orgasm dizziness or even confusion. That's not in your head. It's your brain reacting to a lack of oxygen-rich blood. And for seniors, even brief confusion can lead to accidents, slips, or disorientation that leaves you feeling shaken for the rest of the day. I want you to understand, this isn't about limiting your pleasure, it's about protecting your power, and hydration is one of the easiest, most overlooked ways to do that. If you're planning to engage in self-intimacy, drink water first. Give your body the strength it needs to process the experience safely. But while dehydration is a hidden risk, there's another moment that's even more deceiving because it feels safe. It feels relaxing. And it happens in the one room of the house where most accidents become fatal. Let's talk about what really happens when you masturbate right after a shower. 5. Right after showering, a false sense of relaxation. There's something undeniably comforting about a warm shower. It relaxes your muscles, calms your nerves, and gives you a moment of peace in an otherwise busy or lonely day. For many older men, it feels like the perfect time to unwind completely, maybe even to indulge in a moment of private pleasure. And I understand that. It feels safe, quiet, personal. But what you feel on the surface doesn't reflect what's happening deep inside your body, and that disconnect could cost you more than you realize. You see, when you step out of a warm shower, your body is still under the influence of heat. That heat causes vasodilation. Your blood vessels expand, blood pressure drops slightly, and circulation slows in certain areas. You might feel a little lightheaded already, especially if the room is steamy or if you've been standing for too long. But the danger doesn't end there. If you choose that moment to masturbate, standing, still warm, perhaps a little unsteady, you're asking your heart and nervous system to respond with force. Sexual stimulation redirects blood flow quickly to the lower body, which competes with the circulatory changes already taking place post-shower. For seniors, that rapid shift in pressure and blood volume distribution can cause a cascade of problems: dizziness, a racing or irregular heartbeat, nausea, sudden weakness in the legs, and even collapse. And in the bathroom, on tile, near sharp corners, around wet surfaces. One fall is all it takes. I've sat with families devastated by what seemed like a freak accident. A father found unconscious in the shower, a grandfather who slipped and fractured his hip, unable to call for help. In too many cases, the real cause was never spoken out loud, buried under silence or embarrassment. But the pattern is there. When stimulation meets instability, tragedy can follow. Even if the result isn't catastrophic, it can still be damaging. Feeling faint after climax, needing to grip the sink for balance, struggling to catch your breath or dry off without shaking, that's not normal aging. That's your body saying, not now, not like this. And if you ignore that voice, the next warning might come when it's too late to respond. I tell my patients this often: the bathroom is not your safe space for stimulation. It's where too many strong men have met their limits without knowing they were close to them. Let your body cool down first. Sit. Hydrate. Let the heart find its rhythm again before you even think about engaging in anything that increases your internal pressure. Because the truth is, timing is everything. And the next time window is one that disguises itself behind something we all deal with, but few of us truly understand. It's not physical, it's emotional. And when you're under its influence, even the smallest choice can spiral into consequences that haunt you far longer than you expect. Let's talk about what happens when you masturbate while emotionally stressed. 6. During high emotional stress, when the body is already overloaded. There are moments in life when the weight of everything feels heavier than usual. Grief, loneliness, frustration, regret. You might feel it in your chest, in your throat, in the quiet of a room that used to feel full. And sometimes in those vulnerable moments, the urge to seek comfort through self-pleasure can arise. It's a natural impulse, a desire for release, for connection, even if just with yourself. But this is also one of the riskiest times to act on that urge, because your body isn't just tired, it's already overloaded. When you're under emotional stress, your sympathetic nervous system, the part of your body responsible for the fight-or-flight response, is fully engaged. Cortisol levels rise, your heart beats faster, blood vessels tighten, your breathing becomes shallow. It's as if your body is bracing for danger even when there's no threat around you. And then, when you try to introduce pleasure, something that demands relaxation, deep circulation, and hormonal balance, you're fighting against your own physiology. I had a patient once, a widower in his early 70s, who confessed something to me that stuck with me for years. He said that after the loss of his wife, he began to rely on masturbation not for pleasure, but for escape. He thought it might help him sleep, take the edge off the grief, or numb the loneliness. But each time he did it during those low emotional states, he felt worse afterward. Not just emotionally, but physically. He'd experience heart palpitations, shortness of breath, and a strange sinking weakness that left him shaken. He thought he was losing his mind. In reality, his body was just reacting to being pushed too far in the wrong state. You see, emotional stress is already a physical burden. Your blood pressure rises. Your immune function weakens. Your mental clarity suffers. Add sexual stimulation to that, and you risk tipping the scale. For older men, the result can be serious. Panic-like episodes during climax, post-orgasm depression, difficulty breathing, or in more extreme cases, sudden cardiac instability. You might not even associate those symptoms with what you just did, but I promise you, the connection is real. There's nothing wrong with wanting to feel good again. But the timing has to support healing, not deepen the wound. When you're angry, anxious, overwhelmed, or deeply sad, your body is not in a place to receive pleasure safely. In those moments, what you need most is compassion, gentle movement, hydration, rest, a phone call, prayer, anything that calms the nervous system, not pushes it harder. And when you've done that, when your breathing slows and your heart finds its rhythm again, then maybe intimacy with yourself can be something nurturing, not harmful. But now we come to a time of day that many believe is the safest for this kind of private release. In truth, it's often one of the most misunderstood, and the consequences can quietly follow you into the night. Let's talk about what really happens when you masturbate right before bed. 7. Right before bed. When the body needs recovery, not strain. For many older men, nighttime feels like the safest, most private window for self-intimacy. The day has ended, the world has quieted, and no one is around to interrupt or judge. In the stillness of evening, it may even feel like a kind of ritual. One last moment to unwind, to let go of tension, to fall asleep a little more peacefully. I understand that. It's a deeply human instinct. But the truth is, for men over 60, what seems like a harmless bedtime habit can quietly steal from you the very rest and recovery your aging body desperately needs. As the sun goes down, your body begins shifting gears, entering a natural phase of repair and recovery. Your heart slows, your blood pressure begins to drop, and your core temperature lowers. The hormones that help you relax, melatonin, serotonin, start to rise, while cortisol fades into the background. Your nervous system is preparing to heal, but when you interrupt that delicate process with arousal and orgasm, you create a wave of stimulation that the body may not be equipped to handle at that hour. After climax, the heart rate can rise again. Blood vessels constrict. For some men, especially those dealing with prostate inflammation or mild urinary issues, that late-night climax can trigger frequent bathroom trips throughout the night. You might fall asleep faster, but the sleep is often lighter, more fragmented. You may wake up several times, feeling unrested, disoriented, even irritable, and you may not even realize the cause. One patient, a 71-year-old man I worked with, told me his nights were growing more restless. He'd wake up multiple times to urinate, and his dreams became increasingly vivid and disturbing. He thought it was just age catching up, but when we examined his routine, we found that he was regularly masturbating right before bed. Once he adjusted the timing, allowing 2 hours of wind down afterward, his sleep began to improve dramatically. He told me it felt like his body was finally getting a full night's rest again. This habit also affects the body's ability to fully detox and regenerate. Sleep is when your brain flushes waste, your muscles repair, and your immune system resets. If your system is overstimulated from late-night activity, those healing processes can be interrupted. What starts as a minor disruption, one bad night of sleep, can snowball into days of fatigue, poor balance, foggy thinking, and reduced motivation. You're not just losing sleep, you're losing strength, clarity, and peace. The goal isn't to remove pleasure, it's to protect its place in a body that deserves proper care. So instead of climax being the last thing you do before sleep, make it part of your early evening. Allow time for your system to settle. Let your body drift into rest with a clear signal that it's time to restore, not react. But now that you've seen all 7 of these risky moments, you may be wondering, is there ever a safe time? The answer is yes. In fact, there's one part of the day when your body is naturally aligned for stability, strength, and recovery, and that's exactly what we're going to explore next. 8. So when is the safest time? After all we've covered, the warnings, the risks, the hidden dangers, it's only natural to ask, is there ever a safe time for older men to engage in self-pleasure? The answer, thankfully, is yes. But it's not just about picking a moment when you're alone or when the house is quiet. It's about choosing a time when your body is most stable, the most energized, and least vulnerable to the sudden shifts that can come with arousal and orgasm. That window for most men over 60 is late morning, typically between 9 and 11 a.m. By this time, your body has had a chance to wake up fully. Your blood pressure has leveled out from its early morning spike. You've likely had some hydration, maybe a light breakfast, and perhaps moved around a bit. Your circulation is flowing, your brain is clearer, and your heart is settled into a more even rhythm. This is when your body is best equipped to handle the temporary demands of stimulation. In my years of working with older men, I've seen a consistent pattern. Those who waited until late morning to engage in any form of intimacy, whether with a partner or privately, reported fewer side effects, better energy afterward, and fewer instances of dizziness, fatigue, or emotional crashes. They felt more in control, more connected to their body, and more confident in how they managed their health. That's no coincidence. It's physiology working in your favor. There's another benefit to this timing as well. It reframes the act itself. When self-pleasure is treated not as a secret escape or a quick fix at the end of the day, but instead as a conscious part of your wellness routine, it changes the entire experience. You're not sneaking in a moment to numb or distract yourself. You're actively choosing a time to connect with your body when it's strongest, clearest, and least likely to suffer harm. It becomes a moment of strength, not vulnerability. One of my patients, a 67-year-old retired engineer, told me he started setting aside time mid-morning a few times a week, not just for pleasure, but for self-check-in. He said it helped him stay more aware of his energy levels, his hydration, and his emotional state. He began to see intimacy not as something separate from his health, but as something woven into it. That shift changed everything for him. So if you've been wondering when it's safe, when it's truly best to engage in this natural act, the answer is simple. Wait until your body has fully arrived into the day. Give it the respect it deserves. Hydrate. Breathe. Move around a bit. And then, if the desire is there and your mind feels calm, know that you're choosing a time when your body is most ready to respond without risk. Because after 60, it's not just about what you do. It's about when and how you do it that matters most. And now that you know the safest time, let's pull everything together and talk about what this means for your life moving forward. A final word from Dr. James. You've just learned something most men your age were never told, not by their doctors, not by their friends, not even by the health warnings they thought covered everything. But now you know the truth. After 60, your timing matters. What once felt harmless or routine can quietly become a threat to your strength, your balance, even your life. This isn't about shame, it's about awareness, about honoring the body that has carried you this far and protecting the life you still have ahead of you. You deserve to feel pleasure, peace, and connection, but in a way that supports your health, not risks it. Start treating these moments with the same care you give your medications, your meals, and your movement. Choose the time wisely. Listen to what your body is trying to tell you. Because the choices you make today will shape the strength you carry into tomorrow. You're not too old to stay strong, you're not too late to protect what matters, and now you're not unaware. You have the power to turn a private habit into a conscious act of longevity. Use it well. You've earned that right. These lessons are meant to inspire you to live fully and authentically. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Take a moment to reflect and share one thing you've learned and plan to apply in your own life. Let's support each other on this journey toward embracing these truths. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment with 1. If not, feel free to comment with 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and here's to living life on your own terms.